For the past 4 months, I have been running a quiet experiment on my Instagram, one that could either confirm everything that we've been told about Reels or completely debunk it. I did what every expert says not to do. I posted with no strategy, no system, no calendar. My only rule? Post more Reels, keep it easy. And yeah, most of them were kinda dumb. But it worked. Views went up, followers went up. You can literally see the shift start around November. So I started wondering, if I can grow with zero system, what happens when I add a simple one on purpose? So I got serious. I used HubSpot's Instagram for Business kit to understand what the algorithm actually rewards and how that connects to real business goals. Then I built a rapid reel testing system with 3 rules. It has to take under 1 hour to create a test batch. Content stays human, AI just speeds up the thinking. And the system has to hold up even when the algorithm shifts. So in this video, I'll show you how I aligned the system to my goals, how I used AI to plan and adjust, what happened during my rapid test sprint, and whether the early data supports the system or not. And let me tell you, when I pulled the before and after analytics, the results were not what I expected. I went into this thinking that I would see a clear spike in the data, but what I'm seeing now is definitely not that. So let's break it down and see what the numbers actually reveal. What if instead of waiting weeks to figure out why your business's Instagram Reels are flopping, you could spot the pattern in just a few days using data you already have and a little help from AI? That's how high-performing content teams actually improve their strategies. They don't guess, they run small, controlled tests and learn fast. Here is the system I tested. I focused on one very specific core problem that my business solves. Then I explained the same idea in 3 simple, batch-friendly reel formats and published them daily at the same time. After I had enough early performance data, I ran the results through AI to surface patterns. Then I decided on one small tweak to make to the next batch based on the data. And then I ran through the system again. The goal is not to win with one reel. The goal is to build signals so the next round performs better. But I knew this system would fail if I couldn't answer this one simple question. If someone lands on my profile, would they instantly know what I do? When a reel works, people don't binge 5 more reels. They click your profile. And in seconds, they are subconsciously asking, what is this? Who is this for? What should I do next? So I did a quick audit. I made sure that I was on a professional account so I could actually track data. I simplified my bio to clearly say who I help and what to do next. I made the next step super obvious, and I pinned 2 posts, 1 intro and 1 value piece. Once my profile was ready to support the system, the next step was figuring out what the heck to post. If your business solves a problem, which I hope it does because that's literally why businesses exist, then you will love how easy this step is. Those problems that you solve repeatedly become your content bank. You're just reframing the same solution in different ways. Here's how I narrowed it down. So I kind of solve a lot of problems at once, like a lot of businesses. But for this experiment to work, I really need to make sure I'm focusing on one problem and one solution. The most common question I get asked is, why does creating content feel so draining? And then the first solution or answer I usually provide is fixing your content consumption habits. So this one problem and this one solution are going to drive every reel that I make in this experiment. Watch this reel and ask yourself one question. What is this reel actually trying to do? It's not selling anything. There's no product demo, no call to action. That's intentional. The goal is brand awareness. The team used humor and relatability around a real problem to earn attention from marketers who would see themselves in it. This is where most businesses mess up because your goal controls how you create your content. Most business goals fall into one of 4 buckets. Brand awareness earns attention, lead generation starts a conversation, sales drives action, nurture builds trust. So I sat down and I asked myself, what do I really want to get out of these reels? My long-term goal is coaching leads, but as of right now, I'm really just looking to teach and connect with people. I want someone to finish one of my reels and think, wow, I should follow her for more advice. So my goal right now is to nurture an audience and build trust over time, so later I can generate leads more easily. Once I had my topic and my goal, it was time to figure out what needs to happen inside these reels so that a viewer actually takes the next step. This is where most people lose the plot. They pick the right topic, they know their goal, but the reel doesn't clearly guide the viewer anywhere. So before I filmed anything, I locked in 2 things. First, the profile pitch. Somewhere in the content, you need a short line that says who you are and who you help. Second, the call to action. What do you want the viewer to do? If you've seen reels that say, comment guide and I'll send you the link, that is a strategy. When someone is deep in a doom scroll, commenting 1 word is the lowest effort action they can take. And comments increase distribution. So it's a win-win. Those replies that you get after commenting are usually automated with tools like ManyChat. If that's part of your strategy, I have a full step-by-step video that I'll link below, and it'll show you exactly how to set it up. What I realized was that the way to make this all work is so simple. Your content must guide behavior. To be honest, I found that creating the first batch of reels was the hardest because I didn't have much clean data yet to work with. But once the system was running for a couple rounds, the patterns started to get more clear. To give myself a bit of a head start for batch 1, I asked myself one question. What could I gather to help give AI more context? Since I've been active on Instagram for a while, I'm gonna pull the past 6 months of data from my Instagram account. It's gonna be messy because I've never had a strategy, but this will be a good baseline. I can export everything directly from Meta Business Suite. Quick note, your Instagram does need to be attached to a Facebook page in order for this to work. It takes 30 seconds. You can just set up a blank one. So here within that page, I'll go to Insights, Content, and then up here, there's this Export Data button. Select Instagram, select the account, and I want to collect the data from the past 6 months, and then I'll just select Generate. The next thing I need is inspiration. Over the last week, I turned my doom scrolls into super light research. I became a little detective. All I did was when I saw a format of a reel repeating, like when something popped up on my feed more than once, I would just send it to myself, to my own Instagram account, and I just noted what it is, what I like, and how I can adapt it to my style. So I'm just gonna take a couple screenshots of all of the inspiration reels I sent to myself over the past week. What I did next was what actually made this system sustainable. I used AI to get to a strong starting point faster. You see, a good prompt doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs 5 things. What you're trying to do, what success looks like, your constraints, how you want AI to help, and any context that makes the output smarter, like data or inspiration. You can use any AI for this, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever floats your boat. I'm using HubSpot Breeze because it directly connects to my CRM data, and I think that will be super valuable later. So I pasted the prompt formula in here, all filled out. I've attached my inspiration screenshots, and I have linked the data from the past 6 months on my account. And then I just brain dumped extra context. So what I like, styles that I want to try, how I want the content to feel. The more context you give AI up front, the more aligned the output will feel. So let's see what it does. These actually look so fun. Now, before I film these, I'm gonna tweak everything to make it a little bit more my style. And then after I've made the tweaks, I'm going to paste them back into this chat. That way, AI learns my preferences over time, and each week the starting point is going to get stronger instead of starting from scratch each time. What a lot of people don't realize is that you do not need a production crew to create reels. When you keep it simple, the process is actually kind of fun. Once I had the clarity I needed to get started, I tried to ditch the perfectionism, which was actually one of the hardest parts for me. I just used my phone camera, a tripod, and filmed directly in the Instagram Edits app. I wore one outfit, filmed in a couple spots around my house all back to back, And there was a lot of self-soothing reminders that my job was not to make perfect videos, it was to make clear ones. And if I mess up, I am not reshooting 47 times. I restart the sentence and I move on. Editing is where a lot of people lose momentum. So I wanted this part to be as simple as possible. So as you can see, all of the content that I just shot is here in the Edits app, and it's not clogging up my phone library with a bunch of random clips, so I love that. I'm gonna cut out any dead space from the video and any mistakes using the split tool. The most important dead space to remove is that section right at the beginning of the video before you get into talking. If you're hesitating, people are scrolling past, so you need to get into talking right away. The next thing I'm going to do is add a visual text hook that kind of implies what the video is about. And then I usually make that take up about the first 5 seconds of the video. And then a lot of people watch videos on mute. So if you are talking in a video, captions are super easy to add. You can customize them the way that you like right on the app. And that way, if somebody's watching with the sound off, they still know what you're talking about. Now, a quick note on music, because it trips a lot of people up. If you were to use music from the Instagram music library, maybe like a trending song or something, you pick it directly in either the Edits app or on Instagram. If that song is later to get removed from the library, your whole video becomes muted, even the original audio, and you cannot get it back. So my general rule is, if a reel wouldn't make sense muted, I do not put any music on it from Instagram. Now I can export right here, and then I can push it directly to Instagram Reels just by selecting the Instagram button. The actual strategy behind preparing the post is something a lot of people overlook. They spend hours creating one reel and then 30 seconds thinking about how to publish it. So I built a simple 5-point audit, and I didn't hit share unless it passed all 5. 1. Does my hook match my cover, and can I read it at grid size? So the key here is to make the text nice and big so that when people are scrolling through your feed and see it in the tiny little grid size, they can actually read what it says. 2. Does the caption clearly reinforce the problem and solution? It should add clarity to the reel, and if you can, add some keywords in that people would be searching for that are relevant, because this is going to help the algorithm know who to distribute the reel to. 3. If a complete stranger watches this, do they know who I am and who I help? That's where your profile pitch comes into play. So if you're not saying it directly in the reel, it needs to be in the caption. 4. Is the next step clear? All of my reels point somewhere intentional. I usually just link to the value post that I pinned on my profile. 5. Would this content confuse my current audience? If so, I post it as a trial reel so that it's pushed to non-followers. If it performs well, I can always push it to my audience later. It is a good way to test different kinds of content, especially if you're afraid that the things that you're testing may turn off the people who already follow you. Then I schedule every post at the same time daily, because when I analyze results, I want format to be the only variable. Looked at my professional dashboard, and it said that the best time to post for me was between like 12 and 3. So I'm just gonna make sure that all of these posts go out at like 1 p.m. every day. As the scheduled posts went live, I made sure that I engaged with comments as quickly as possible. And if I noticed anything interesting, I would screenshot it. Things like comments that say, "This is so me," or people tagging friends. Anything that proved resonance and would give extra context when planning the next batch of reels. The signals felt really small, especially on batch 1. But when I zoomed out and ran everything through AI at the end of the test, that's when things got really interesting. I downloaded my data from the past 3 days, and then I attached it along with some screenshots of insight of my reels, plus any proof of resonance that I had screenshotted over the past couple days. Then I said, based on this data and these screenshots, what patterns are forming and what is the smallest change I should test in my next batch? I am absolutely blown away by how many patterns were spotted in what felt like a embarrassing amount of traction. Even with just a few hundred views per reel, clear patterns showed up. The short, super specific micro habit point of view reel got more saves and more shares than the other ones. AI suggested that the small tweak that I should make for the next batch is to lead with a more specific feeling that people recognize, and then give one tiny action that they can do today. So that is what I will be testing in this next batch. Once the patterns were clear, I ran the original planning prompt again, along with the new data and the new inspo I had been collecting. I kept everything the same except the context section. I added the tweak that I wanted to test in the next batch, plus anything new I'd been thinking about creatively. That's how the system compounds. Same problem, same goal, one small adjustment at a time. And AI gets smarter about your style every week. What happened over the next few test cycles honestly surprised me. I have gained the biggest insight yet, and I honestly didn't even consider that this might happen. I knew that I was going to get clearer on my audience and what kind of content works and what kind of content doesn't, but I never expected that this would make me significantly clearer on my message, my brand values, and how I actually like to create content and teach. So I'm realizing that using AI with this type of direction isn't taking away from my creativity, it's actually activating it. We're seeing that my talking heads storytelling reels are resonating more based on engagement, but people aren't watching long enough for me to actually get to the point. So in this next batch, I'm going to flip the story. I'm gonna start with the outcome, then give the context, and I'm also gonna make sure that I'm doing something while I'm telling the story because that will help with retention. Let me tell you about batch 3. This group of videos leaned way more into natural, in-the-moment style reels. I filmed them throughout one day, and I had more of a casual conversational delivery. I decided to script these ones more myself rather than editing the AI-generated script. And the data for this one surprised me. The total average reach per post more than doubled in the third batch compared to the second. So Instagram is clearly rewarding content that feels real and integrated into someone's day. But as reach went up, engagement dropped. So now the job is tightening the value so that engagement catches up with that bigger audience. So, did the system actually work? Let's look at what the data actually said. I went into this thinking that I would see a clear spike in the data, but what I'm seeing now is definitely not that. When I first checked the challenge analytics, it showed a lot of red, but when I zoomed out, the story changed. So turns out, over the last year, my reach is up nearly 600%, and almost all of that growth happened within the last 6 months while I've been actively experimenting. Even during this rapid test, my daily views stayed more than 3 times higher than my long-term baseline, despite a big pivot in format. But what surprised me the most was how much my reach jumped when the content became more natural and less scripted. And that tells me that discovery is expanding first, and now the work is tightening the value so that engagement catches up. So, 10 days, 9 pieces of content, and 3 data reviews. That is all it took to build a launch pad for better ideas and a stronger compounding system. So now you know, the system didn't magically make anything go viral, but instead of guessing what to post, I had structure. Instead of chasing the algorithm, I was learning from it. And batch over batch, the signals got more clear. That's the real shift, a repeatable system that compounds. So if you're tired of rebuilding your strategy every time Instagram changes, try a couple test cycles, 1 problem, 3 formats, 1 small tweak each batch, and then let the data tell you what to do next. If you want help figuring out your goal and focus for your business's Instagram, the Instagram for Business Kit is linked below, and it's gonna help you get super clear on both of those things and give you insight into the whole Instagram ecosystem. So you aren't just using Reels, you're using all Instagram's tools together. And because posting with intention increases your chance of a spike, even if virality isn't the goal, I will link our How to Go Viral video at the end of this video so that you're actually prepared if attention hits. If you want more strategies that help you grow without burning out, then make sure to subscribe to HubSpot Marketing. We release new videos every week. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. If this helped, give this video a like and let me know if you're gonna try out this experiment. My name is Bridget O'Rourke. Feel free to connect with me online and I will see you in the next one. Bye.